Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With me today is Dr. Lance Tatum, Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs here at Troy University. Lance, thanks for joining me here today.
Oh, pleasure to be here, Aaron.
And we're here to kind of get in a state of the coronavirus here at Troy University. The campus opened back up on June 1. Students are taking online courses this summer, but talk about a little bit about the task force and the decision-making process and how things are, the mechanism in which the university is trying to wade through this coronavirus situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to do that. So this whole thing really got started in late January. I don't want to go through the whole history, but I think people need to understand that we've been dealing with this since the beginning of the year. As we moved through January into February, it became apparent to us that we needed to create a body of resources that we could access regularly to help us work through some of the complexities of the decisions that were going to have to be made. So in early March, we put together what we refer to as the Corona Task Force. This is a group of individuals from throughout the university. It involves administrators, it involves staff, it involves faculty. We have expertise in public health. We've even included Dr. Eric Law, who is a physician here in town, on our group. We meet regularly, and so we did that throughout March, April, got into May, and so we basically meet every week. Each week we talk about a component of what is coming ahead of us. So for April and May, we worked on June 1st. And so that involves everything from protocols for sanitizing spaces to what do we do in the case that an individual believes they have symptoms, to a confirmed case, to cleaning spaces, to sneeze guards and masks and PPE, the whole PPE discussion. So each week we take a component of what is ahead of us and we start building out plans. The task force then builds a set of recommendations that I then take to the senior leadership. That is reviewed. We discuss cost, we discuss policy, we discuss procedure, and then we, in a consensus, go to the chancellor and we present that to the chancellor, and then that gets put in place and reintroduced back into the workforce.
And I know that was one of the things, a lot of people, there was that moment when things shut down pretty much at spring break. And and then everyone returned, faculty and staff returned on the 1st, but that decision-making process, I know it's got to be a complicated process. You talked about all the steps there, but making those decisions and what weighs into those decisions and how that gets put together.
So, the chancellor has been very clear. I chair the task force. He's been very clear with me that priority one is the safety and welfare of our faculty, our staff, and our students. It less complicated things a bit after spring break when we sent groups of the university away. But I think that, the decisions we make and the discussions we have start with the welfare and the safety of our employees and our students. From there, you start layering in guidelines and best practices and recommendations from the CDC, from the Alabama Department of Public Health, what other universities are doing. I can't tell you how many documents we have poured through over the last 3 months from universities and from agencies on what they're doing to maintain this sense of good decision making. So we start from that premise. From there, you start looking at logistically, can we actually implement what we need to implement? Can someone actually work from home if we give them the ability to stay at home and work remotely? What does that do with the normal operations of the day? Each decision comes with a lot of weight to it. I tell people all the time, I spend lots of sleepless nights thinking through how are we going to get through the next week. What I've learned very early in this process is that you can't predict what's going to happen the next day, much less, how are you going to put things in place in order to address what's coming at you. There's a lot of gnashing of teeth at times and trying to make sure that what we're deciding on is in the best interest of our constituency, what's in the best interest of the university. I mean, there's a financial component to this. When you pull everyone out of dorms and pull them away from the dining halls, there's an expectation that the money that they have paid for those services be reimbursed back to them. And so we've gone through a discussion and system of refunding money to students. We've looked at everything from, the tuition for next year. Part of what we talked about was, the disruption and the sacrifices that had to be made on the parts of students, faculty in the spring and in the summer. How is that going to be addressed in the fall? So I think I think there's a lot of weight to the decisions we make. We don't take them lightly. Luckily for me, it's not just my decision. It's the collectiveness of good decision making, good recommendations that come to the chancellor.
And it's not over. Even though the campus is opened up,
Right.
there's a fall semester coming up.
That's right.
And so what's on the table? You're still meeting. So there are things that could potentially happen or not happen between now and August.
Right. So, the major points of discussion right now deal with instruction. How will classrooms be configured? Will the fall schedule be impacted? We have a group of students who are pre-registered for the fall. We don't want to do anything to disintegrate the schedules that they've put together. We've got to figure out capacity of classrooms, how people move in and out of buildings, how they are disinfected during the day or after the day. So instruction is a big part. Then we have the residence halls, in 2-room occupancies. Or will we stick with 2-room occupancy, or will we go to a 1 occupancy per room? How you get checked in. Impact has been affected by this. You probably realize now that we've got both a face-to-face option for impact, but we also have a virtual option for impact. And then we've got the dining hall, right? Add into that athletics, the Greek life, clubs and organizations. So what we've done now is we've kind of taken the big rocks of the fall and we're building out plans and contingencies for those. What we basically would, best case scenario for us would be we come back in the fall and there are very limited disruptions to our life. The small adjustments we have to make. I'm not sure that's going to happen for us, but that is a possibility. The first contingency would be that when we come back, we're going to need to maintain a sense of social distancing, and we're going to be mindful of how we move groups in and around the university. That will include in-class instruction, but a modified approach to that. We see that online is still going to have a role in the fall. We talk a lot about hybrid delivery, large classes. How are we going to deal with classes that are over 100 people? You can't get 100 people into any classroom we have with 6 feet of social distancing. So there may be a rotationary basis of students who come into the classroom, but also have instruction in an online format. So I think that we're trying our best to role play every scenario that may be coming with us. I've been very thankful for the tolerance level and the flexibility of our employees and our students. It's been incredible. I mean, as a Troy alumnus, I'm always proud of this university, but what we were able to do in March in going from in-class to an online format in less than a week was unbelievable. And I know that there are questions that people have. I know that there are concerns that people have. We're trying to do our best to alleviate as much as we can before getting into August.
Well, it's a very, in my opinion, an unenviable task, and I'm glad it's you that are making this decision, not me, because I don't think I could pull it off. But Lance, thank you for joining us today and giving us kind of a heads up about what's going on here at the university dealing with the coronavirus. Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure, Aaron. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.